This is Positively Montana.
Thank you for joining us for this week's Positively Montana. I'm Marian Davidson. Positively Montana is a weekly show where we bring you the good that happened here in the Treasure State and people making a difference in their community. We start in Billings, where friendships come in many forms, and some are undeniable from the start. Now, that was the case for a soldier deployed overseas for the first time away from home and in search of a friend. As MTN's ANDREA LUTZ reports, he found just that.
It's a bond that only began a year ago.
She cracks me up.
But long before that, fate was already working its magic.
She came to me at a point in her life when she needed help, and it's like I could always use a friend, but right then it was like, I really needed her, and I think it was just, out of that necessity, we were just there for each other, and our bond has just grown stronger.
We often refer to those serving our country as heroes. Stephen Bonacarrere is an active duty Army Reserve officer with the National Guard. In December of 2019, he was deployed to Kuwait, Iraq, where he in fact became a hero to Sugar Cube.
I called her Sugar Cube just because she's white and she's sweet like a sugar cube.
But she wasn't always such a clean shade of white.
She looked pretty rough. She was muddy all the time because, it was so hot over there. But there was pools of water that she'd lay down in to cool off. She was pretty skinny when I found her because, I'm sure she just lived off scraps or whatever. A lot of the coworkers would say that there was 2 dogs on base, and one of them was really clean, and one of them was really dirty. I was like, no, there's just one. So I started feeding her, and then, we got in the pattern of she'd always show up and be there on time.
It's cooling down?
She was so timid around people, and at that point she would approach me and she would actually let me pet her, which was pretty cool, but other people tried to approach her and she just wouldn't have it.
The relationship between a human and a dog is a curious thing. A dog will give unconditional love, but also somehow knows to teach it.
Like a symbiotic relationship. It was like, she was obviously in need of, love and attention, but I was too. I look forward to seeing her every day and every night.
In a war-torn country on the other side of the globe from Montana, fate was well at work. But also at work was reality.
You can't explain to an animal, like, hey, it's been a great 10 months, but I gotta go now. Hope you find someone else.
Hey, baby. Bye-bye.
Good girl. Yeah, now go play.
Stephen reached out to an organization called SPCA International, a global animal rescue.
There's a lot of service members that have brought dogs home with them in the past, and then I was like, okay, how do I do that?
He filled out the paperwork and waited.
I have to know in my heart that I did everything I could to try to bring her home.
Okay, we're set to fly.
Finally, Operation Baghdad Pups came through, sponsoring the cost of vet checkups, vaccinations, and a flight to a new home.
Got her food, and she's marked because we have other dogs going to Canada, so we know this one is the American one from the flag.
Sugar Cube beat Stephen home by 3 days.
She's like, I don't see anything.
I see you.
Many times when we think of a hero, we think of a man in a cape. For Sugar Cube, heroism came in the form of a young soldier from Montana.
Baby, hey, being over there in that experience, we went through some stuff. It's, you talk with your family, but it's like, they'll never know what that place was like or, what you were going through at that time and period in your life.
It just goes to show, sometimes the force of fate is already working, long before we even know.
Just looking at her and just thinking about all the memories that we shared, and then I'd love to know what her story looked like before I met her and how she got there and, how she survived. I don't know. There's a million different possibilities of what it could have been.
A million possibilities of what could have been, but just one that was meant to end like this. In Billings, Andrea LUTZ, MTN News.
The nonprofit that Stephen used to rescue Sugar Cube serves dogs and cats. The group also puts its resources in a variety of countries, not just Iraq. Now here are more Positively Montana stories.
For the last couple of years, Top Gun Auto Body has made significant donations to nonprofits, but this year they are doing something different. They are spearheading 2 different donation campaigns and encouraging a challenge for the rest of the community.
Thank you, this is amazing.
The Helena Food Share met with Top Gun Auto Body to receive a $5,000 donation. The food share says they are feeding about 250 households every week, and this donation will make a significant impact.
$5,000, it's going to go a long way. It's going to provide like more than 10,000 meals for sure, you know, helping people, just making sure that that people in our community who need food can come to Helena Food Share and get it when they need it.
The Top Gun Auto Body staff chose the food share after researching in 2020 the impact of child hunger in our local communities.
I think the thought, you know, us getting together as a staff, coming together, trying to do something for the community, and most of all our youth. That's our future there. So trying to make sure that we could do the right thing and put our best foot forward for the community.
Ted is putting another foot forward with this donation by incorporating books. He's donating 750 children's books to first graders in multiple districts and is challenging other businesses to get involved and support the community.
I can tell you nothing feels better than helping other people out. There's no doubt. You know, at some level, all of us can do our part and help out. It's a great thing to do and be a part of.
The books are expected to be delivered to the students by the end of the day, Wednesday. In Helena, Alexi Guayo, MTN News.
Hello everybody, I'm Casey Conlon. There are an estimated 20,000 books in this room right now, and it's barely a quarter of what the Central Christian Church has to offer over the next 2 weeks in the return of their annual book sale. After missing it last year to coronavirus, they hope this one is the biggest ever.
We'd hate to throw this party and have nobody show up, so we are delighted when we get the response we do get.
15 years ago, a couple hundred people showed up to the first sale May organized after being tasked with coming up with a fundraising idea.
I offered, how about a fireworks stand? That was too much work. So, okay, then what about a food cart at the fair? You know, that was way too much work. So then I offered, how about a book sale? Fine, that sounds good, go with it.
The sale has grown every year since. The next 2 weeks will be responsible for a third of the church's budget. Even more impressive when you consider they've never raised prices. 50 cents for a paperback, $1 per hardcover. It's a year-round job for the many volunteers. But nobody cares as much as May. A true perfectionist, even at age 87.
It is inevitable that you find something that should be somewhere else.
How often do you come down these aisles and do stuff like this?
Often.
Often. Do you trust others to do this as well?
Oh, maybe.
No.
Are you trying to say I'm a control freak?
Of course not, Ron. Just a lover of books who wants to share that with the world.
We have been told that the book is dead, but we've certainly have not seen any evidence of that, Casey.
The book sale will be open for the next 2 weeks, Monday through Saturday, from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. each day. If you go, make sure you say hi and thank you to Ron. Casey Conlon for MTN News.
希望你们在地下平平安安，富富贵贵。
Buttes often overlooked Chinese residents were being memorialized in an ancient ceremony that honors the dead and ancestors, known as a tomb sweeping ceremony. A Qingming festival was held at the Mount Moriah Cemetery in Butte, which included the burning of fake money to speak with dead ancestors, sweeping the graves, and placing willow sprigs at the headstones. Many people from Butte's early Chinese community were buried in this back corner of the cemetery.
Chinese were segregated even in death. They were excluded from citizenship, but also discriminated against in many ways in daily life. Chinese, of course, were a very big part of those early decades of Butte from the 1880s on.
And as they sweep the graves, they drink wine, eat snacks, even fly kites, because while it is a somber event, it's also a celebration.
That is so awesome. I never thought I would say this ever anywhere in United States and in Butte. Well, I think right now Butte is my, favorite city forever.
During the ceremony, Shui Yan spoke to the spirit of her grandfather, who had died 7 years ago.
I said, if you have any wish that you didn't achieve, you can talk to us in our dreams so we can know.
And hosting a ceremony like this is just another one of the many things that makes Butte very unique. But for some people, it's also very special.
And I know that growing up, Jin it was really important. And I remember all of this, and it's really important.
In Butte, John Amy, MTN News.
This isn't the first time POLSON softball coach Larry Smith has been to this field, but it is the first time he has been to Larry Smith Field. Tonight, POLSON honored their all-time winningest coach by naming their softball field after him.
Give a standing ovation to Coach Larry Smith for all of his hard work and dedication to your POLSON Lady Pirates!
It was a labor of love. I loved it all, and it was nice to see it. I had no clue when I walked in here tonight what was going on.
He had daughters that right away, Robin is one of his ex-players, and she was on one of the early teams during the development years. We have other young ladies that eventually, that played for him, and now we have teachers, for instance, Lori Dixon at our high school was one of his players.
But it wasn't just the name that made him emotional. It was that so many of his former players showed up to support him the same way he supported them when they played for him.
Honestly, Larry was like a second dad to me. He cares so much about just any human he meets.
He says everything's about the girls, and he spent hours on the fields, and he'll never take any credit for all of his doing for the POLSON softball program.
I think they were all winners. Whether they won a championship or not, they were all winners.
And that's because the definition of being a winner has very little to do with success on the field if you've played for Coach Smith.
I think that impact of having those women in his life and looking at them at what he sees in their future and give them strength and give them the ability to be assertive and leaders in our community.
Whether we're growing in softball, we're growing in school, we're growing in whatever we want to do in our future, he is one to support that 100%, and he just knows we should all be treated as equals.
Girls in sports are just as talented as men in sports, and Larry's believed in every female athlete from the beginning.
I guess in my heart it was probably was bigger. My heart swelled a little more tonight than any of those championships.
In POLSON, Alexa Belcastro, MTN Sports.
The Helena Kiwanis Club is completing their annual batch field cleanup and maintenance, but this year is special in different ways. Batch Memorial Park received its annual maintenance with added perks this year.
Very thankful that the City of Helena has finally replaced all the wooden bleachers with these really great aluminum bleachers for everybody to be able to use.
And to go along with the bleachers, the Helena Kiwanis Club used oil-based paint to give the park a cleaner look. All this excitement comes at a perfect time for the Kiwanis Club as they celebrate their centennial year of service.
This is our 100th anniversary for the Helena Kiwanis Club. We're the longest continuous organization in Helena for 100 years. We've had 99 continuous presidents. The club continued through World War II, which a lot of organizations didn't. It's just great to belong to something that's been around for that long.
For so long, and the Kiwanis is still going strong, with nearly 70 members still active in Helena and counting. Dennis has been volunteering for the club over 30 years and says a community is not the same without volunteers.
Somebody has to volunteer, you know, otherwise the community wouldn't be what it is. And we're very proud of what Kiwanis has done over the last 100 years in this community. And of course, our emphasis has always been on children. All the funds we raise go to help the children in not just Helena, but throughout the world.
The 100th celebration does not end here. The club is planning a get-together later in the year, and they will also maintain more parks in East Helena. In Helena, Alexi Guayo, MTN News.
On Friday, the Elks National Foundation announced winners of its annual hoop shoot competition, and one 10-year-old from Bell took home a national title thanks to a clutch performance. There's not much that rattles Ellison Graham.
Are you pretty confident when you step up to the line?
Yeah.
The 10-year-old daughter of Jeff and Megan Graham has ice in her veins, and that confidence was on display when she stepped up to the line for nationals of the Elks hoop shoot in Glasgow and nailed 25 out of 25 free throws.
Feels awesome because I'm only 10 years old.
Her score was recorded in the virtual event, but she had to wait for others from around the country to roll in. But last week, during the Elks Hoop Shoot Finals reveal, the Grahams learned that Ellison's score held up.
Because she did score a perfect 25 out of 25.
Wow, all right.
She was named the Elks Hoop Shoot National Champion and earned the Getty Powell Award as the top scorer in any age group.
Well, it's cool because I'm like the only person I think from Belt that won the national free throw contest.
Megan Graham will enter the Hall of Fame at Montana Western this summer and is one of the best athletes to ever come out of Great Falls. But even she was in awe of her daughter's performance.
I was nothing like that when I was her age. There's no way that I could have shot like that or had the nerves, because she was pretty nervous beforehand. She wouldn't have said that to anyone, but she was a little bit nervous, and then all of a sudden she just let it go.
And it gets even better. As a national champion, Ellison will have her name inscribed in the Naismith Basketball Hall of Fame, and in September she'll travel to Springfield, Massachusetts for the 2021 induction ceremony.
My mom said that Chris Webber was there if we won that time, and more basketball players, I guess.
She probably doesn't quite fully comprehend what that means as far as being in that position, and that's just pretty amazing to be in that history.
But even though Ellison is a 10-year-old Hall of Famer, she's still a kid, and there's another part of the trip she's looking very much forward to.
We get to go to the American Doll Star.
She's kind of competitive with everything. I mean, you throw anything competition-wise and she's gonna do everything she can to win, but she's a great person.
Now, Ellison wasn't the only Montanan to compete in the National Hoop Shoot Finals. Plentywood's Sophia Handren finished 10th in the 12 to 13-year-old age group division, hitting 21 of 25 shots. Tom Wiley, MTN Sports.
Positively Montana continues after this.
Some teachers from across north central Montana got a possibly once-in-a-lifetime experience Tuesday, taking off just behind me here at the Great Falls International Airport in a military helicopter for a bird's-eye tour of the area, thanks to the Montana Army National Guard. This is part of the Guard's effort to show its appreciation for teachers.
I have a 4-point seatbelt harness.
After a short safety briefing inside the HOLMAN Aviation Building,
Thank you.
8 teachers made their way outside to a waiting UH-60 Black Hawk helicopter for a roughly hour-long ride.
I think it's super exciting knowing that this is a career opportunity and a pathway for our students. Is a great way for us to collaborate with the military and learn more about it, and then we can take that excitement back to our classrooms and share it with kids.
I had a friend say, are you nervous? And I said, I'm with the military. Why would I be nervous?
Oh, you want something?
We're going to be kind of playing with the winds a little bit, but we like to give them a scenic flight. You know, everybody's pretty familiar with the Great Falls area. It might be fun to fly over Great Falls and just kind of, see the schools a little bit, but we want to get them out into the country a little bit.
Yours is going to be a little bit different. Yep.
Like the teachers, the Guard members also appreciate the opportunity to build relationships.
Educators are really the key leaders of all communities. I mean, they form our youth, and as far as recruiting, they can really help to influence some kids to find a future in the armed forces and serving their country.
A lot of recruiters come up and talk to us, and we just kind of have an open house for them to intermingle with the kids during lunch hour. They come out about once a month to Cut Bank and talk to the students, and then I reinforce any of those kids who are interested in that.
If you're interested in learning more about the helicopter the teachers flew in, check out the Web Extra video in this story on our website. In Great Falls, Colter ANSTAETT, MTN News.
If you're out and about at one of Missoula's many public parks and you see a magical creature, you might want to take a second look. Hidden in tree crevices are dozens of gnomes made of earth-toned clay so they blend in. It's an imaginative spin on cleaning up the public parks by local kombucha company Back to the Mother.
So originally Gnome Fest was as part of a summer camp program that I helped develop in Pennsylvania.
Holman said the idea sprung from a need to incentivize kids to clean up litter at the camp.
So ever since then, I've always wanted to bring that to Missoula.
Beginning on April 22nd, Earth Day, a crew placed close to 270 handmade gnomes and 1,000 palm stones around Missoula. The point is to provide a tangible reward for picking up trash.
We've had lots of engagement with our social media platforms and seen lots of people with bags of trash as they're out hunting. And I feel like I've noticed the parks seem a little cleaner.
Certain gnomes come with prizes. If you find one holding a coin, you've won a prize worth Bitcoin value. You can also win kombucha and other prizes.
Participation is really easy. Really just keeping your eyes peeled for these objects. But really, it's taking more accountability for these public lands that we all share. And, you don't have to have any other reason to pick up trash.
Holman says Gnome Fest is set to become a yearly tradition.
Yeah, this is kind of our way of giving back to our community. We're a small business here. We started from scratch, and we've been able to slowly bootleg and grow ourselves to the point of sustainability, and we're just so grateful to be a part of the Missoula community.
Holman tells me there are still plenty of gnomes out there to be discovered. If you see one, make sure to tag on social media, #GnomeFestMissoula. In Missoula, Geneva, ZOLTEK, MTN News.
That does it for this week's edition of Positively Montana. We hope you have enjoyed these features that show good things happening to people in our community and people working to make the lives of those around them better. Now it's your turn. Head to your local MTN station's website and click on the Positively Montana link on the homepage to see more stories like these and share your stories with us. We'll see you next week.
MTN, Montana's news leader.